kind of mouthpiece you got going on?
Warburton.
You've been playing that your whole life?
No, but switched like 10 years ago.
How'd you know it was a good mouthpiece?
Well, it was way better than the one I had.
Did you know right away?
Yeah, but
It was like an instant thing?
yeah.
Is that what you think about mouthpieces? If it's a good one, you know pretty much instantly. You don't have to like work with it.
I feel like it, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you have to. I feel like you got to use it for a little while before really knowing for sure, because sometimes your perspective changes, and I feel like that's usually the case when trying new equipment. Like you have to try it for a little while and then go back to what you played on before and see if it really is better. Like because maybe it's just that new horn feeling or new mouthpiece feeling. I don't know.
Shiny objects in
Yeah, yeah. Like I was very skeptical about this horn because of that. Like I was like, I wonder if it's gonna be as good as I'm hoping it is, and I kind of treated it as if like it's just gonna be whatever. But then I really liked it in a lot of ways. Like it just felt like really easy to tune with my section and tune to the ensemble and just hold a steady tone. And after playing it for a couple of weeks, I went back to my other horn. I was like, I think I'm going to switch to this for a little while and see, and every once in a while I go back to my custom, and it just doesn't feel the same anymore. It's kind of sad. Yeah.
That's the B.A.C. Paseo model.
Paseo, yeah, W6.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the regular Paseo is the copper bell, and the W6 is with this yellow brass.
Nice. It looks beautiful too.
It is, yeah, it's very beautiful. I got all kinds of compliments ever since I got it. It was just like, wow, it's such a shiny, pretty horn.
What's going on with the hand slide? It's oh, I see. It's not quite the curved grip, but it's like slanted.
Yeah. So this is what they kind of stuck with for the Paseo, and I like it. It's not like
awkward,
the curve, but it still provides a little bit of relief for your lower part of your hand.
And then this mouthpiece, that's all part of the same piece. It's not like an extra thing in there.
It is it's a double piece. I never take it apart, but yeah, you can unscrew.
What's that do?
Well, there's different size shanks that you can
experiment
with. Yeah, I like the 11D cup and the T5 neck, whatever that is.
So when you're looking for a new mouthpiece, what do? Do you do like range exercises or something to see? Like, do you play scales? Like, how do you know it's feeling good?
I think for me, I just have to feel. For me, everything is about the partials, and I feel like if it feels good moving between partials, and I don't have to like do any weird stuff to make the horn work for me.
Yeah.
Then it feels like the right fit. But as soon as I have to like, I don't know, do weird things with my embouchure or something, then it just doesn't feel right.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
When you pick up your horn first thing in the morning, what do?
Just blow air through it. Honestly, I think that's air is such an important part of our music making, but also just daily life. So it's good to connect that with your instrument. So I'll just blow a couple of nice big breaths into it.
Like, what do you mean? Can you demonstrate?
Oh yeah, I'll just go.
Like literally blow air into it. No pitches.
I like to feel the resistance. I like to feel the back pressure, because I feel like if we're not aware of how that feels, then we're guessing. I don't know. I like to feel like a drummer will sit and find that sweet spot where it just bounces, and they don't have to put any effort into it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm just kind of trying to find that sweet spot of air, because once I find that, then articulating is a lot easier. And holding a nice, well, I like to call them long tones, but where you play scales as if they're a long tone, but.
So how long are you blowing the air in it before a pitch comes out?
I might just do one breath.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's not like I feel like I'm playing every day, so I don't get a whole lot of time
On the horn.
to warm up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of it's probably bad. I should probably warm up a little bit more, just to get things working right. Because if you don't pay attention to it, sometimes I think you can develop things like vocal dystonia, where you don't even know how you're making the note come out, and so you just kind of. I like to just go back and work on basics, as if they're like, okay, I got to make sure that I'm engaging the right muscles, and I'll look into a mirror sometimes and just to check to make sure I'm not like the corners aren't like moving up and down and stuff on certain notes. And
Okay, what about back in the day when you were practicing a lot as a student? What did that consist of?
oh, it was mostly just, man, it's hard because a little of everything. I was never one to take a routine too seriously. I was always up for changing it on a whim. Trying things, because this is such a weird thing that it's like we're trying to figure out how to make this thing work with our organic being. So it's I was always trying to mess around with things and work on different ideas, but obviously you can never get around practicing your scales and practicing tuning and just practicing making a good tone. So I was definitely focusing on that a lot, but I feel like I always practice, or at least in that way. Like I'm always trying to pay attention to all the little things that matter, and as opposed to just blindly perform. I feel like that word performing without thinking is overused. I feel like you're always thinking about something, and for me, if I'm focusing on the groove, which I love to do, that is always something that will bring me right to the now. Okay. That brings me right into to what I should be focusing on, and it puts the timing of everything in place. And then once I can get the timing of things right, then the rest of the things start to work themselves out. So I would say that the majority of my practice came from time exercises. I would just put on, and let me just go into that because that's something that I teach a lot. I feel like anytime a student comes to me for lessons, that's what I prescribe to them. There's usually whatever issue that they have. We can say, all right, let's make an exercise out of it by making a time exercise out of it. So what it is we put on an album. There's something you like to listen to, or whatever YouTube channel is your favorite. They're producing music content and whatnot, and or even just like some smooth jazz. I like to put on something that's got just a nice, steady, easy beat to follow along to. Yeah. And then I'll just play quarter notes, or sometimes I'll just come in as long tones, come in on beat 2. Just thinking about the beat for a little bit is enough to I think get you in the right mindset. So I don't know. That's so
it's just like any recordings you're listening to that you like, the radio, and then you just put it on and then just try to get in the groove of whatever you're listening to. Real simple. It's just like a note or two.
Absolutely. Yeah, simple stuff is the best. As long as the main focus is on the timing, and you're messing around with the timing in all different ways, you can still work on other stuff, but as long as the main focus is timing, you're going to improve really, really fast. At least that's the way it worked for me. And anytime I tell my students to do that, they always come back like, yeah, that really works. And then anything that they're working on, they'll just, like, I'm working on trills now, so I'm going to put trills into a time exercise. And you just do like back and forth, like in quarter notes at first between 2 notes, and then you do triplets between the 2 notes, and then you do eighth notes between, and you keep going, building it up into different denominations. It also makes it really easy, like when you want to switch back and forth between like quicker rhythms and slower rhythms. I feel like it unlocks like your improv creativity to an extreme. Like once you get like do 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 do, like it's right now I'm on a triplet binge right now, but then you can go into you know.
And you're just not really thinking about scales or anything, just about the rhythm.
Yeah, just about the timing. And right now I was demonstrating with changing the tone or whatever, but
I see.
But that's because it wasn't an issue for me. Usually when you add the trombone, it's like you start thinking about all these other things. Yeah. And so it's a good way to focus.
So like starting out, you would just do that on one note and not even think about the key you're in really so much?
Yeah, actually, and that's another really good thing to practice is playing outside of the key on purpose, intentionally. Because so many people are afraid of the wrong notes that anytime they hear themselves play a wrong note, they like have this reaction to it that it doesn't make sense to me, honestly. It's after doing it for this long, it's fun to play the wrong notes. It's like it's more entertaining that way. It's like because after you play all the diatonic notes for so long, you start to get like, well, then what, you know? And it's that sticking on a really weird note for a little while that's what gets reactions. That's that plays with people's expectations, musical expectations, and they're like, wait, huh? What's he gonna do with that note now?
Right. It's like how you get in and out of it.
Exactly.
Nice.
So
that's pretty cool. And you have a really unique approach of how to visualize the trombone. And you have a system called the trombone visualizer, right?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say it's unique in that ever since I came out with it, a lot of people have told me that this is what they see in their head, and they've seen it for many, many years as well. And I think it's basically a way of kind of organizing the notes. I think we all do it to some degree, and it's basically just observing the stack, observing the shelves that we have to deal with, which we call partials. Yeah. And where do they line up, and where, how do you see it in your mind? And for me, I visualize it like this way. I'm sideways.
We could take this probably down so they can see it better.
Sure, yeah. So I'm visualizing it from the side like this, and my slide going out to 7th position. Here's 1st position, 7th position. And then the partials are coming up like this. And so here's the low B flat, F, B flat, D. And it gets closer as you go higher as part of the
so it's kind of like it's a tool where we can visualize our instrument like a piano player could, because they have an advantage because they can see how it's laid out, and this kind of helps us as a trombone player to see how it's all organized.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like without this, I was able to still kind of build it up in my mind, but it was only so much of the image that I could see. So by graphing it out, actually it was in college at North Texas when Tony Baker told me to like really get precise about your tuning and figure out, exactly where is G and F sharp, and it's like, okay, well, I started to like graph it out because when I was a little kid, I like to design like little vehicles with using that little graph, like little boxed graph paper. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do that and see if I can see it in more detail. And when I did that, I started to think, well, maybe there's like this curvature going up here like this, and that.
You worked with a tuner? Didn't you work with like a scientist or something that helped you map it out?
Eventually, I was like, well, hey, Brady Anderson was my roommate at North Texas, and then he went on. He didn't pursue music in school. He ended up going into like physics and like really heavy sciencey stuff, and he's like a nuclear physicist now. And but he and his buddy, they were both like in this crazy math class together. I don't know, calculus or something. And anyway, they knew what they were talking about. So I thought, if there is math behind this, these guys will be able to figure it out. Yeah. And so they did. I basically explained all of the things that I possibly knew about the trombone, such as like the further you get away from first position, the further apart each note is from each other.
Oh, wow.
So like 6th and 7th position are further apart from each other than 1st and 2nd. And so that ended up making this line actually curve ever so slightly. And if you were to go out to like 20th position, it would be like a flat line, you know? So it's kind of crazy how that works.
Right, that's amazing. Because if you look at like, what's that app, the iBone app, it all makes it look like it's totally even, right?
Yeah.
Like a total even grid. But
and I love that app, but I wanted something a little bit more precise like this, and by asking my buddies to find the math behind it, and once they were successful, I was like, well, now I got to make this poster because this is probably the most useful slide chart out there.
Do you sell these posters?
I do.
Oh, on your website?
Yeah, on my website at khicksmusic.com.
Nice.
And you can also find all kind of other stuff on trombonevisualizer.com.
So do different trombones, is it a little different depending on the trombone you're playing, or is it all pretty much, is each trombone have its own tendencies is what I'm asking?
There are ways I think that you can manipulate this, but I'm not sure how. Honestly, the only way I can think of is if you just make the horn tuned a little different, and then your idea of first position may be out here, and so all the notes may be slightly sharp, so you have to pull them out. I know some people tune to D, so in that case, the line, all these lines would have to be slightly over to match where D is. But as long as you're tuning to B flat, which most people do,
should be this similar.
It should be this.
But my question is, you know how some trombones, like maybe like F sharp's a little different, right? And like why do you think that is? Why do you think that certain trombones have different tendencies of how it's tuned?
I have no idea, and I would love to look into that more because that's interesting to me too. I don't know how they
probably
do that.
The way the metal is, like the way it's like.
But I don't know how that would affect this image too, because I don't feel like there's any way you can manipulate where a partial is because it's all mathematical. If you're playing on a conical instrument, or no, it's a flared bell instrument. Wrong. So
what does the gray mean?
The gray. Okay, so I made the gray ones as alternate positions.
Okay. So these are your standard go-tos.
Exactly.
And then you got your alternates.
So
here.
if you're able to play the chromatic scale from low E all the way up, you wouldn't have to play any of the gray notes to be able to play the full chromatic scale. But they're really useful alternate positions, especially these ones that are closest to the ones we use the most.
So once you had this map in your mind, what happened to your playing?
Oh, it skyrocketed. It I feel like I always think about navigating through the trombone, like just kind of in my passing everyday, life. I'm just thinking about, going through whatever. And so now that I have this, I'm able to see a lot more of the tuning tendencies, like a lot of the exactness of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that I felt like were far away before feel a lot closer now.
Did you memorize it?
Oh yeah, I mean it's something. It started out internal.
Yeah.
But because I have this, I'm able to build on that internal image.
I love this because it's so true. Like you get that high E flat right in between first and second, right?
Yeah.
And then G, most people put it in second, but it's really not.
Yeah, you gotta pull it in.
You gotta pull it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really shows too. In the E2, a lot of people will line it up to the C sharp D flat, but it's not. It's just a little down farther. You know?
And I always hear E flat so sharp. When people usually play E flat, it's really
because they line it up with the C.
With the C,
which is by the bell.
Yeah, and the C is actually by nature a little higher than third position. So if you're playing C right in tune, and then you go and play E flat right above it, it's going to be super sharp.
Yeah, because you learn just to leave it there. You just learn to leave it right there, right by the bell. That's what we learn.
Yep.
And what people do is they adjust it with their embouchure, which is like probably not what you should do, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's good to learn how to flow across the partials, and lip slurs and stuff. But But it's good to be able to make, at least to be able to make informed decisions on, I got to move slightly in for this next note or slightly out to make it really precise. You know?
And once you have an awareness of this, then it's almost like insurance. You have insurance to where you should be at. Because like your ears are one thing, but I feel like if you have this and you have a map of it, it's like an insurance to your ears.
Exactly. It definitely, it locks in whatever I'm hearing, I visualize it. And so it's all like the same thing to me. If I can sing it, I can visualize it, I can play it. It's all basically the same in my mind, because I've connected it this way. This is kind of like the intermediary for the way I, think of the trombone.
What happens with the pedal notes here? Where do we do
I did cut that off for space.
Sure, but are they similar?
But they're the same. They should be the same as that, but just down an octave.
Okay.
So I didn't include that on there just because of that.
It's not
for
necessary.
For the space. Do you have a?
Well, no.
I'm
just like. So this is all the way pulled in as far as you can.
Yeah, I mean, technically D is above first position.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you pull the tuning slide out of it or something? How do you handle that?
Well, in order to play D completely in tune, you either lip it up or you pull your tuning slide.
So that's what we've been doing this whole time without knowing it? Is
usually,
lipping it up?
Yeah, usually. But sometimes people lip it up so much that it's sharp. I find that I even do that sometimes. I'll play D in first position and I over adjust and I'll play it sharp.
Interesting. So what you're telling me is that a lot of us trombone players are manipulating our embouchure without even realizing it.
That's also a big part of it. Yeah, we don't realize that we're doing all this stuff to try to counteract the natural tendencies of the trombone.
So are you saying that if you have an understanding of this and you're not manipulating the embouchure and you're actually just going to the right positions, you will play more efficiently?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Tony Baker said that the more in tune you play, the more that those out of tune notes stick out.
Oh. So
it's like the more you get like really into tuning, the more you realize like, okay, that I got to make sure every single note is really in tune. So I think it's especially useful when we start getting out into the alternate positions to know the exact, tuning tendencies. Because look at this, you don't want to play all, seventh position something and expect that to sound good. Because it's like you got to be able to make a little bit of adjustments.
Very interesting. The trombone is the easiest instrument to play in tune and also the hardest instrument to play in tune.
You got that. Got that right.
Now,
but we're always thinking about tuning. I feel like as a trombone player, we always have to be thinking about tuning. We always have to be thinking about tonguing too, because that's just like we can't rely on the valves to do the tonguing for us. We have to articulate every note, even on the slide. You gotta go down,
muddy.
Exactly.
Did you work with a tuner?
Yeah, when I first was like graphing it out.
What about just like in your daily practice, like practicing? Did you like look at a tuner?
Oh yeah. Well, I think the important part about learning how to tune is to learn how to make those small adjustments. Not just to be able to put the needle in the center, but to be able to tune and make a 5-cent sharper adjustment or a 5-cent flatter adjustment, because you want to be able to adapt to any ensemble, and not all ensembles play right in tune. And some, a lot of us are at the whims of lead trumpet players who often play sharp. So we have to be able to adjust to that on the fly and all that kind of stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's important to focus on tuning, I think. But
so it's when you see this though, what you realize is that these are so close together that there should be very little movement when you're playing in the stratosphere.
Yeah, actually, a lot of trombonists prefer playing up in the higher register because I think I can speak for every trombonist. We don't like 7th position. Right. We don't like 6th position. And if we can avoid it, and if we can avoid getting tennis elbow from playing the trombone, we would do that. And so I think a lot of people, jazz improv happens this area because it's all first, second, third, and then a little bit of fourth, position. And you can, if you stay in this register, you don't ever have to go past fourth position.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So
that's amazing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of really nifty things about it, but we could talk about.
Well, you did some like, I remember seeing you did some like animations.
Yeah. That's the next thing I've been developing, and I have on my website at khicksmusic.com. You can sign up for different classes. One is just the warm up. It's easy warm up, and it's really nice. It kind of goes through a routine that I've kind of adapted over the years, and it shows the visual of like a ball moving around, and you are here, and this is the map.
Yeah. Like the old school, like sing along bouncy ball.
Yeah, bouncy ball.
Yeah.
And it just moves from, so you're doing like the da 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 da,
Yeah.
And you can see that on the video. I also have been making etude videos along with PDFs where people can download and learn how to, like, I've got a bunch of videos that are just one chord, and it's like 14 bars of licks over this one chord.
That's nice, and then you just can focus on not moving so much in tonality and just being the
exactly. And then I have them in 2-5-1 form as well, and then I have more etudes that are like 2-5, and then it does a 3-6, and then back to the 2-5-1. And I think it's a really good.
So how does that work? So you got these exercises, and then you got this going on, and what is the exercises are just giving you an awareness of where the slide positions are?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So it starts with. I also have a lot of chord. I basically made a bunch of chord drones.
Yeah.
Where you can just practice along to any tonality. Like say you want to work on your D7. Sharp 11 chord, and so the video will show like a red dot on the D and the D, and then on the third and sevenths are blue notes. So the third is F sharp, and the seventh is C, and then all the other notes in there are yellow, and so it just you can see the shape of that chord on the trombone visualizer, and then there's all kinds of ways that I have of going about practicing over those chords.
So when you say trombone visualizer, it's that visual aid that accompanies your practicing that shows you the tendencies.
Yeah.
It's an actual visualizer.
Yeah, and it shows you the path through. Like it'll show, like obviously it's not I want to eventually make it into something that will read what you're playing and make it on the spot.
Oh yeah, cool.
But for now, I'm able to do animate videos.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm writing etudes, and then I'm making an animation of that etude.
Yeah,
to
and
go
then
along
they follow
with
along.
Yeah, they can actually see another representation of, instead of just the notes on the page.
Yeah.
They can see a video of the note moving around the notes.
So those animations must take you a long time to make.
It's not that bad anymore. Yeah,
You got fast at it?
I got a little faster.
Because you were like
but
manually
also,
putting them in and everything?
Yeah, they have in Final Cut Pro like a way you can, on the timeline, you just click and make like, all right, it's going to be here at this point.
It tracks it.
And then on the next part of the timeline where you have the next note, I just jump there and I move the ball there, and then it's like.
It's still
it's very it's very tedious. It's something I could probably produce a lot more videos than I am, but it's just so tedious that I was just sitting at the computer clicking all the time. It gets.
But you got a lot already done.
I do. I have a lot of videos, over 100.
100 already?
Yeah. Most of them are just those chord drones.
Yeah.
Where it's not like animated. It's just the static. Chord playing and the visual of that chord without any movement around it.
And it's just like to get you in the zone of the overtones and the tendencies.
Honestly, I'd love to pull up a video and show you how I practice over it. But if you got time, you want to do some more?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. Well, let's grab... Can we pull up a video of...
Sure.
One of them? Awesome.
How do we pull it up?
Can I connect to your Wi-Fi?
Oh yeah. So we got Kevin here. He's gonna demonstrate this. We're in the studio. He's gonna demonstrate how this works.
So this.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, cool. We're
this
good.
Camera that I'm holding.
Oh, all right, I'll talk there.
Yeah.
Cool. So so I'll just go over a couple of the ways that I practice over a drone chord, just to give you an idea. One way is, if you're not familiar with the scale yet, just work on tuning. And we can just work on tuning. This is A minor, so work on tuning A.
Okay.
Second position.
Second position. So what do the different colors mean?
The red dots are, the big red dots are the root, and the small red dots are the fifth.
Okay.
So I feel like those are the backbone of the chord.
Yeah.
And then the blue notes are the thirds and sevenths. They create the colors of the note, or of the chord.
Okay.
Those are the ones you can see. Let me rewind.
Okay, so these are drum practices.
Yeah. Yeah, another way to practice over is to just learn the scale, learn how to play each note one at a time. You can see on the visual, you start at low in second position and then go out to seventh position for the next note up.
Okay.
And you can start out slow so you get really hear what it sounds like playing each one of those notes over the chord, and then slowly speed that up over time as you get more and more comfortable with it. And then you can start do things like split up the scale and play it in different scale patterns.
Yeah.
And you can start doing that with in all kinds of ways too. You can do I like this one where you play the root in between every note.
And are you, when you're first doing these, you're looking at the chart, right? You're like trying to see if you're in the right positions.
Yeah, trying to look at the chart and see where it's all laid out, or the video, and just really letting that seep into my mind, my internal view of it.
So they got to get the chart. I'm going to get one too.
It's a perfect thing.
You got to get one.
It's really useful for anybody who's a teacher of the trombone, but even more for any student of the trombone.
Yeah.
And to be honest, anyone who's listening to your channel is a student of the trombone.
Yeah, I mean, the chart seems like the way to go, because then you don't got to look at some little stupid phone and try to, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like you just got the chart laid out while you're practicing.
It's nice.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to figure out bass trombone, check this out. I also have,
nice.
Yeah, I also have the bass trombone visualizer, and it includes the trigger series. If you're using either a dependent valve or an independent, you can use this. One of the partials isn't available if you have the dependent. So
What's dependent mean?
So if you have a bass trombone that you can play each trigger individually, then it's independent.
Okay.
But some bass trombones, like you have to initiate the first one and then the second one, but you can't let go of the first one.
Interesting. What's this one? This is like a single trigger bass trombone.
Well, then that wouldn't have some of these partials,
Okay.
it would have the what is it? The V1 partial. It would have the blue one,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't have the red one or the green one.
Gotcha.
Because you get the green one by combining both triggers.
Yeah.
And then this shows you the tuning tendencies. Like most of these notes are not in a position. They're like between positions if you want to be really precise tuning wise. And so a chart like this is really valuable for a bass trombone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that looks helpful.
Yeah.
Because that's like different territory. You need the bass trombone chart.
Exactly.
Well, that's pretty fascinating, man.
So I put those two back to back on a board sheet so I could teach with it. And also they're laminated, so you can draw on them with a dry erase marker. I forgot to bring my dry erase marker.
Yeah, we tried it on a marker earlier. Don't do what we did.
Yeah, I actually.
Yeah, we messed that one up. Don't do that. No, that's awesome. So they get this, and then it unlocks these play-alongs, and then they can play along with it.
Yeah,
on your website.
And I have a lot of videos that are still available to watch for free and stuff online. If most of the stuff is on Instagram still, on Trombone Visualizer on Instagram.
You have your own Instagram for Trombone Visualizer?
Yeah.
What's it called? Trombone Visualizer?
At Trombone Visualizer. So check that one out, because I went through a phase, and I'm planning to do another level up from that coming up, where I did chord of the week. And it's great because everyone needs to work on harmony at some point, and it's really tedious when you have so many different chords to practice. Mm-hmm. So if you just delve into one chord a week, you eventually get through them all. And it's a really fun process of doing kind of what I've been just talking about now, where you start slow, you work out each part of the scale. There's PDFs that come along with it with all kinds of information, licks you can play, and tunes that include this chord, stuff like that. So. And
what's the end result? What happens once they go through all this and practice it?
You're gonna see the trombone like you've never seen it before. I think a lot of people get to a plateau and they don't know how to get past it, but with something like this, I've never really come across a plateau. I just keep finding that the more I dig into this, the more my playing goes.
Would you say that you don't crack as many notes too once you get this together? Like gets rid of issues like that?
Well, I feel like I always know where I am on the horn. I'm not just like shooting into the dark hoping I get the right note eventually. It's like I have a very precise way of seeing it, and I have a very obviously it's based on math, so I know that the image is going to give me the right pathway through the horn. So when I'm thinking of like B flat to G to E flat, I'm not thinking of a straight line. It's slightly curved. So I'm going to make that slight adjustment. Now G is closer to B flat than it is to E flat. So
it's essentially like making us have the same command a piano player would, as far as the map of the instrument.
Yeah. I mean, if you had a map to 12 different mansions that you owned, wouldn't you want to know how to get to those mansions? Like you would take that map really seriously. And I try to think of every key as its own home that you own. You just in this imaginary world, you have 12 homes, and every key is one of those homes. And so,
that's cool.
But you want to find your way around the neighborhood of that home. You don't want to just think of like your helicopter pad landing at your home and then you never know what's around, because you want to know what your surroundings are.
I see. You want to know how to navigate through each tonality where it's seamless, like it's all connected, not just like randomly going to a key and then being kind of lost. Like it's like essentially having your GPS all mapped out in your brain.
Yeah.
Where you don't need to look up anything.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a little solo playing for us?
Yeah. And I'll demonstrate what hold on, I'm going to empty my bow.
Yeah.
So put this back on. Yeah. One of the cool things that I feel like this trombone visualizer gives me the ability to do is easily switch between tonalities just on a whim. Mm-hmm. So I'll be thinking about you know, a certain key, and so it'll give me an idea of like, you know, the key of B makes me think of D sharp. But then what I'm going to do is I'll get to any note in that thinking, and then I'll pivot to a new chord that includes that note.
Okay.
So I'll just give you an idea of how that sounds.
Beautiful. So what was going on there?
I was just exploring different tonalities. At certain moments, I would think, "Oh, I'm on an E, so now I'm going to just play an E major, you know, pentatonic scale or something, or F sharp minor, or you know, whatever just came to my mind. Once I got to a note, I will start to hear that note from a different perspective.
Okay.
You know,
You're using a note that's a common tone in different tonalities and pivoting to go to different dimensions.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and it's fun to do. It's honestly, I think, the most freeing kind of improv. Just explore the map, basically, so to speak.
And what was that articulation? You got a unique articulation. It's a very Kevin Hicks articulation. What do you do?
I guess, yeah, it is a little bit unique. Why? I wanted to get into doodle tonguing ever since I learned of Carl Fontana and what he could do on the instrument. And so I got the Doodle book by Bob McChesney, and I worked out of that for a long time. I had a gig in Japan for 2 years at Universal Studios, and I've just shedded that book hardcore. So I feel like what I do is doodle tonguing, but I've kind of adapted it to my own thing because I wanted to be able. Most people that I know that doodle tongue play really soft. And I wanted to be able to play loud and doodle. So I kind of came up with my own way of like toddle tonguing.
Okay.
So it's a way of, every time I teach doodle tonguing, I feel like I have to explain that you need to cut off the air.
Okay.
And so instead of explaining that with people by teaching them doodle tonguing, I feel like you can skip that by, or get right to the essence of that by saying tottle. And tottle, and try to break it up between notes, and it gives you a lot more clarity of.
So you're going tottle.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tottle. Yeah, and it gives me the ability to
play at louder volumes.
Oh yeah, play at louder volumes, but also stay accurate. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of in between. That can get in there between notes if you're not separating the notes with your articulation.
Okay.
So I felt like that was my way of like being able to separate the notes and get like each note to come in right in the right position.
Nice.
And all that stuff. So
When you're doing those triple things, what are you doing there? You doing that?
Yeah, I feel like I do use the partial series sometimes to make the articulation.
So you're not quite always tonguing everything.
Yeah, sometimes I'll like da 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 da, and let the rest come out. Da 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 da. It might be the first two or something. Da 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 da.
It's a combination.
Yeah, But yeah, as far as like triple tonguing, I do the same as doodle, like da 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 da, but da 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 da.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going back and forth, but primarily you're doing this toddle thing.
Yeah.
Most like all the time when you play, even slow playing and everything, you're still using it.
Yeah. Even I feel like it's I can even play classical that way because it
just feels natural now.
Yeah, or like marches. You know, it's way easier for me than like
sure.
It just like when I do double tonguing the traditional way, it just feels like so much. You know, it just doesn't like I can't get the really crisp articulation of the. Obviously, that's something that you have to work on, and everybody who tells you about double tonguing tells you just got to work on the ka tonguing for a long time. But that's just what I did with the tul tonguing. I just kept working on the tul.
Can we hear what the tonguing sounds like with just the mouthpiece?
Oh, sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And then you got any advice for your slide technique? You got good slide technique going on. Are you holding it a certain? How do you hold the slide?
I don't know. I've experimented with turning my hand more this way at some points. Steve Teray got on me on a lesson for that. It's like you could be so much better if you turn and use your wrist as more of an aid to you. But for me, I ended up kind of going back to old ways, and I feel
feels good for you.
Yeah, it feels good to me.
That's the main thing. It's gotta feel good for you.
Yeah. Like if you feel weird playing, then you might not be doing something.
And everyone's body is different. I realize, like everyone's different, and certain things feel more comfortable to different people. You have to go with what feels good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so many little variables that can go into changing.
Yeah.
The way you play.
What did you do to work on your range?
A lot of it was in Japan when I had that routine of every day, like warming up. I included range in my warm up, and I just started, after I would do it right after long tones, because I didn't want to get too into the like lip trills and stuff or lip slurs and stuff because I felt like that would ruin my openness of being able to play, the full range of the horn. So right after long tones, I would just go straight into like going up to the highest and then down to the pedal and then do that in all 7 positions. Okay. So that, for the first few months, that was like, up to a high F or something if I could. And then, or maybe it was lower than that, maybe just like a D, but just. And then just doing that in all 7 positions, and then over a few months, I would be able to get the next note up, and I would go up to the next note, and then a few months later, I'd be able to get to the next partial up from there, and it was just a slow process, but it was, it's like building muscle, you got to go to the gym and do it all the time, in order to really see the results the way you're supposed to.
Killer.
Yeah.
You want to play a tune or something?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's play some stuff.
All right. awesome.